Well, there is a growing movement across America among many parents to fight back against attempts to, quite frankly, emasculate little boys and young men. Toxic masculinity. It's become a buzzword on college campuses. But my next guest says society needs to let boys be boys. CEO of Trail Life USA, Mark Hancock, joins me now. Mark, welcome to Starnes Country.
Thank you, Todd. It's great to be here.
All right, well, let's talk about this idea. What do you mean when you say let boys be boys?
Well, we've seen a cultural battle where we're beginning to, there's all this confusion around what it is that makes up a man and what it is that makes a boy. And the boys are kind of the canaries in the mind of this culture that's trying to figure out what's going on, and they're suffering. Boys are now twice as likely to be in special education, 3 times more likely to be declared ADHD, and so they're paying a price for a culture that's kind of confused about who we are. And so I think that there really is, you can almost say that there's a war on boyhood as we've known it.
I mean, if I didn't know better, it was almost as if they were trying to socially re-engineer little boys, and if they can't do it through education, they're going to do it through medicines.
Yeah, it seems like the things that used to be just seen as regular boyhood behavior are now listed in bulleted points of what qualifies for ADHD. Things like running or climbing when they're not supposed to, or not waiting to speak when it's their turn. Well, that's me a lot of the time, and that was certain my sons too, and boys that I know.
And yet one of those organizations, really one of those American traditions where boys could be boys, used to be the Boy Scouts, and that's just simply not the case anymore.
Yeah, a 108-year-old organization that gave us presidents and senators and generals and leaders and civic leaders, and had such an impact on our society. It seemed to lost its way, and so we started Trail Life USA because we saw this coming, and we knew that boys were going to need somebody to stand up for them. And so we are specifically ChristCentered. We're a traditional family-based organization, but we are unapologetically boy-focused. And we believe that boys and girls are different. We agree with the science around that.
Well, you know, you mentioned you're an organization that's exclusively for boys, because now the latest news coming out of the Boy Scouts is they're allowing girls to come in. The Girl Scouts have filed a lawsuit. I mean, it's just really amazing what happened to that storied organization once they began to capitulate on some of their core values.
It really is remarkable. Like I said, that 108-year-old history of all that tremendous stuff, and now it seems like they've kind of lost their way. And when you lose your way, you don't know what you're going to stir up in a parent.
So what's the lesson for the rest of us here?
The lesson for us is remember who it is that we are. Remember the things that we know. I mean, boys are boys, and they're tremendous, and girls are girls, but it's not one size fits all when it comes to serving them. They have different strengths, they have different abilities, and they should be led in different ways. And so we believe, and we're focused on growing those boys.
Well, apparently a lot of people agree with what you guys are doing at Trail Life. How old is the organization now?
We'll be 5 years old in January.
All right, 5 years old. Now chartered groups in 49 states.
Yes.
And what, 27,000?
27,000 members, or in 800 churches across the country.
That's really remarkable. What is it that when you're looking at why people are joining Trail Life? Are these folks coming from the Boy Scouts, or are you reaching a new demographic?
Well, fewer than 50% of our troops were formerly Boy Scout troops.
Really?
So we're in churches that for 100 years never chartered a Boy Scout troop, but Trail Life USA came along and they said, okay, this is something that we need. And it's our Christ-centered focus. It's the fact that we're unapologetically Christian and unapologetically boy-focused. We understand that boys need a program that's directed at them as much as girls do. And so we have these masculine adventures and these masculine opportunities for boys, and the parents are loving it. Single moms are loving it. Dads are growing closer to the sons. It's just a big win for everybody.
Mark, I know you're a writer. You study a lot of this kind of stuff. What concerns you about this country, if in fact we continue on this trajectory where we really address this toxic masculinity, we emasculate men? What does that mean for our country 5, 10, 15 years down the road?
Well, we're already seeing the effects. And we see this, we talk about the failure to launch. There's more men living at home, more young men living at home than ever in our history since they started tracking that in the 1960 census. So boys are already, and young men are already feeling the effects of kind of being diminished in what it is that they can do, the strength that they have, the strength that boys and men have, that they have naturally. Now, women have that, of course, also, but it's in a different area. And if we try to mix it all together and say that these are exactly the same, they're just not.
And yet when you look back at the Boy Scouts, I mean, this was an organization that really was rooted in that faith tradition that Trail Life USA is rooted in.
Well, we would expect at this time that this is when Boy Scouts would be standing up, when boys are under such immense pressure and they don't really know who they are, and we're not helping them through the changes of how we define things. And you would hope that an organization like that would stand up, but they haven't. And so Trail Life USA has stood up with 8,000 volunteers across the country, and we're making sure that boys are getting the attention that they need in order to grow up into godly men.
And when you look at that program that you guys have, you mentioned something that I was curious about. You said it was Christ-centered. What do you mean by that?
Well, we're biblically based, and we're unapologetically Christian, and we charter in churches that have a Trinitarian statement of faith that agrees with our statement of faith. But our membership for boys is open to boys of any faith or no faith at all, because we really think that we can be helpful for all boys. We're providing the type of program, the type of excellence that any parent who wants to see their son in a program growing and maturing or learning about things like character and leadership and adventure is going to find a home at Trail Life USA.
So tell me about what you guys are hearing from moms and dads and from young men who have been through this program.
Oh my gosh, I could tell you story after story, Todd, about single moms who have come up to me and thanked me for the program and what it is that we're doing, because their husband had passed away and they were left. They cried out to God, they prayed, they said, I need some men to help raise my son. And then we have boys who have been challenged in adventure and said in things that they didn't think they were able to do. Well, it's huge when a boy learns that if he hangs in there and he keeps at it, we don't give participation trophies. You've got to earn it, and that's powerful for boys. They need that kind of risk and competition in order to grow.
Mark, let's fast forward. I want you to put on your predicting hat here. Let's move fast forward 103 years. It'll be the 108th anniversary of Trail Life USA. Mm-hmm. What do you hope people see at Trail Life USA's 108th anniversary?
Oh my goodness, I'm not intending on being around for that, although that would be wonderful. But I think we're going to see young men who have been, at that time, then led by generations of other young men who grow up into godly fathers and citizens, and are encouraging them in the ways that we know, the things that made this country great, the things that make it great to have a faith and to have convictions about what it is we do. I think we'll see generations of young men who benefited from the principles that we've learned.
Well, you guys are doing some terrific work, Mark, just incredible work. And moms and dads, if you have a young person, a young man, I would encourage you to get them involved in Trail Life USA. Young ladies, there's a wonderful program called American Heritage Girls, and you can find out more information about them at our website, but also be sure to visit traillifeusa.com for more information on the great programs. Mark, thank you again, and what an honor to have you here on the program.
Thank you, Todd. It's my pleasure.